Good morning, Jay Melder, City Manager, City of Savannah. I want to echo all of the comments that the Mayor and the Chairman, Manager Kegler, has said. Also want to provide a few situational updates. But first, more thanks and acknowledgement to go around. Of course, we're joined here with Team Savannah by our Police Chief, Chief Elsie Kitchen, our Fire Chief, Chief Elsie Kitchen, our Police Chief, Lenny Gunther, our Assistant City Manager, Heath Lloyd, of course, our 6th District Alderman, Curtis Pertee, and all of Team Savannah that have been out to work really for the whole week, and certainly right now focused on our areas and communities that are adjacent to the Ogeechee River. Also really want to thank our partners at SEMA. Really couldn't do this response without their leadership and coordination, and all of our partners at the county. It's been really wonderful to be able to partner with them as our residents are experiencing some inconvenience at best and some really, really scary times at worst. Also, we have our state and federal partners who are engaged with us. Really want to thank our homeowners associations, especially at Bradley Point, who have been tremendously helpful in partnering with us to make sure that we have resources provided to those neighbors and our nonprofits at the Salvation Army and at the Red Cross. The Ogeechee River is still rising. Right now, in our communities like Bradley Point and Teal Lake that are adjacent to the Ogeechee River, we see a river height of about 10.1 feet. Our latest models indicate that we can expect the river to continue to rise to at least 10.5 feet and maybe some inches before that. We are seeing some indications that the river may crest today versus tomorrow and Monday, which would be a really good sign, but we'll keep everybody informed as our models continue to work out where and when that river is going to crest. But the sooner it crests, the sooner the water is going to recede. And of course, if we're only expecting another 6 inches of rise, that would be a much more positive update than what our model showed yesterday with another foot and a half. But we could see additional inches, so we're asking people to remain vigilant. Our first responders at the City of Savannah, led by our chiefs here, rescued 150 individuals from neighborhoods and communities yesterday and throughout the night and brought them to safety. These were folks who called into 311 or called into 911 or called into Fire Station 12 wanting to be brought out of their homes because they felt unsafe and wanted to get to higher ground, and we were able to assist in those situations. We'll continue to assist in those situations today. Again, for neighbors in the City of Savannah, 311 is the number to call if it's not an emergency. If it is an emergency, of course, 911 is the emergency number to call. Again, we are going to be out again today and tomorrow and for every day until the water recedes. We have blocked roads. We've set up command posts at Fire Station 12. We also have some outposts within the isolated areas at Bradley Point, and we are in constant communication and traveling back and forth between our Teal Lake community, which is also isolated. But we do have our public safety chiefs who can answer any questions when we get to that portion. Thank you.
Director Jones.
Thank you, everyone, and I want to provide you a little bit more information about what is going on throughout the community. I do want to recognize Commissioner Whiteley. He has been in the area throughout his district all day yesterday and the day prior, and he and I have communicated quite frequently about his constituents as well as the issues that are affecting his community. Also, I'd like to recognize Chief Julie Tolbert behind me with Chatham County Police Department, and also Chief James Vickers. You know, the law enforcement and the firefighters, EMS personnel who are out on the street, they're the true heroes of this. They're out doing the work that we're all reporting on. They're out rescuing the people. They're providing that community service. They're making sure that roadways are safe. We got our public works entities throughout the jurisdictions providing barricades and also making sure that roads are closed as we deem necessary, as public safety deems necessary. I do want to emphasize that we are making history. We are making history with this event. At the Kings Ferry Bridge, the historic flood record at that particular location was 7.2 feet set in 2020. That's the highest ever recorded at Kings Ferry. We are currently right now, before I came here, at 10.19, so we are setting history. This is a historic flooding event for our community, so it is something that we all need to be very, very vigilant in the public safety efforts as well as your personal safety in making sure that we are respecting that the floods that are impacting us now and that are continuing to rise. We want to make sure that we are respecting what that threat level looks like for our community and also making sure that we are being vigilant in our own personal safety. The Ogeechee River at the Eden gauge further up, it crested at 17.9 feet yesterday. Thankfully, it is starting to recede upriver, but all of that water has to go somewhere, so it all makes its way to the ocean. So that's why we're seeing these increases at Highway 17 right now, so because that water is making its way to the coast. So again, this morning, 10.19 feet before I came here, it is low tide, so Kings Ferry is influenced by tidal sequence. So as the tide comes in, that level is going to go up. As it goes out, then it'll draw more water out. So we are going to see some fluctuations in that level as the tide sequence goes up and down. Many of you have recognized that roadways are impassable. Some roadways are impassable. That's going to continue to be the case for the next several days. So be very, very mindful of that. Homes and properties have been flooded, so we are very vigilant in making sure that we understand what those impacted areas are. And there may be additional roadways that may need to be closed. There may be additional communities that may have isolation issues, so we want to be sure that we're vigilant in making sure we understand what those areas are. As mentioned before me, it could take upwards of 4 to 6 days for the water to fully recede out before we can actually see what the conditions currently are to mirror what we saw a week ago. So it could take 4 to 6 days for the water to recede, and we want all of our community to maintain that vigilance and be prepared. Since last week, this time last week, Public Safety has conducted 48 swiftwater rescues. Mr. Manager, the city manager mentioned they've done over 150 rescues overnight. Throughout the community, there's been hundreds of people that have been rescued over that 48 swiftwater rescue count. Many of the roads are closed. We mentioned impassable. Many of them are also closed and will be closed for some time. The barricades are out. Please don't drive around those barricades. Crews from the city of Savannah and Chatham County, they'll continue to be out throughout the event. We also want to make sure that we're paying particular attention to those communities that are even further east of Highway 17. So as the water makes its way to the coast or to the ocean, we want to make sure we're paying particular attention to not only the areas around Highway 17, but those that are a little bit further east. So we do have a shelter that continues to be staffed. It is in Cynthia Street in the city of Savannah. As of this morning, there are 10 of our citizens who are in that shelter. We are accepting pets at that shelter, so if there's any citizen who has pets and they want to shelter there, we have accommodations for that, and we can also provide crates at that location if need be. So, a response takes a lot of people. It takes hundreds of people. It takes hundreds of different agencies, and the level of thanks that goes out to everyone who has supported Chatham County, City of Savannah, and all the other municipalities is just unprecedented. There's no way that we can list everybody because we will inevitably miss somebody, but there are hundreds of organizations, hundreds of people who are engaged in this response effort, and it truly takes a community to ensure that we're maximizing our response and recovery efforts. Moving into recovery, we are starting to look at what that could look like. We're probably going to have some long-term sheltering operations for our citizens, and we've also started working with a company called Crisis Cleanup. So anyone who needs cleanup resources, if they have already been able to get back into their community, back into their home, the number for Crisis Cleanup is 1-844-965-1386. Again, 844-965-1386. And that is, again, Crisis Cleanup. If you need cleanup resources for your property, you can get in touch with them and they can provide you some resources. Thank you.
Let me also say now, as we come, I want all the citizens to know now that your aldermen and your commissioners for the 5th, 6th, and 7th districts have all been a part of this as the command center puts together and the command policy group put together a plan for keeping us safe. But citizens of Chatham County, you have to help us, all right? Yesterday, I was able to see where someone drove their truck around a barricade, and the truck wound up in the ditch head first. All right. Now we have to go and rescue that person out of that truck. That is something that we should not have, because it takes away from those who are calling us to have things in place. As well as the mayor said, and as all of us have been saying, we want you to stop. Do not wade the water, all right? Do not walk the water. I was in a neighborhood yesterday, and believe it or not, just sitting watching at the edge of the flooded waters, here's a catfish that's going down the street. And you know catfish don't go down streets. They are mostly in the creeks and in the rivers. So now they have possession of water that's in the street, and so they're there. And so we can't say that about any of the wildlife that normally would not be, all right? They may be. And so we want everyone to, please, ma'am, please, sir, stay careful and stay cautious. Stay alert, and let us know if there's something that's going on in your neighborhood that we don't know, because this water will be moving from the west side to the east side, eventually to the ocean, all right? And so we want to make sure that we have everybody prepared. It's better to be prepared than not prepared, because we don't know exactly what's coming, but we do have forecasts and things that we make decisions about. All right, with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Yes, sir.
Anyone from Team Savannah would like to respond. I've talked to a lot of residents in the Bradley Point area, and they kind of applauded your commitment to them and being there to support them. And I was talking direct about you, Mayor Van Johnson. One thing they said, he literally went door to door, making sure everyone's okay. Can you just kind of walk me through those responses and those conversations you've been having with those residents and really supporting them?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it's important that in context, this is Sunday to Sunday. We've been in this for a minute. Many of the professionals behind me and in front of us in the neighborhoods have been at this literally for a week. And I'm asking for our residents to extend folks some grace. It's been hard on everybody. We certainly understand your pain. We understand what you're going through. As Director Jones said, we're navigating some historic waters, and I think, literally. So I just ask for people to have patience. We're as frustrated as everyone is, but on the other end of it, we have to keep our minds in the game. For us, it's been not only Bradley Point, it's also Teal Lake, it's also over at the Georgetown side of the city. We've been there, Alderman Pertee, Team Savannah. The goal is just make sure everybody's okay. There have been a lot of people who just said, I want to stay. And we tried to make sure that they understood very clearly what that could mean. If they change their minds, then we try to be able to adjust to be able to get them out of the community. I think the other issue is that we have to prioritize. Obviously, someone who is actively experiencing a flooding event will get a higher priority than someone who just wants to be able to leave. But again, when you think about 150 folks in those communities that have been moved out, that is a tremendous amount of resources, a tremendous amount of effort, a tremendous amount of coordination. And for us, again, there is the psychological effect, it's the personal effect, and people feel victimized. And I mean, we have been victimized by Mother Nature, but we work through it. We work through it together. We know there's a day beyond this, and we're just trying to get to that. I hope I answered your question.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Come on. Come on.
I got a question for Chief Gunther, if I may.
Come on, Keith.
I knew you were coming.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. The same neighborhood told me about an arrest made yesterday because of reckless driving. I think that could be a really conversation about driving in conditions, reckless driving any day. Could you just expand on that arrest?
Absolutely. So, again, to echo the remarks and sentiments of the team behind me regarding driving through the waters and walking through the waters. Regarding the arrest yesterday, unfortunately, an individual did not want to listen to our instructions not to drive through the water, drove through some really deep water, drove into other people's yards, pushing water into other people's yards, which can be dangerous. And as a result, the individual was arrested for not listening.
Are you, just for people's safety,
Oh, absolutely. You know, we pride ourselves, like everyone here, in our preparation. We know that in conjunction with the flooding response that we're enacting now, we have a city to protect at the same time. So the allocation of resources and staff is very important to us. So I want to assure everybody that's tuning in that we have the appropriate resources to address the flooding, but your city's safe at the same time, too.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, let me say thank you to all the teams, and I can tell you how this works. On last Sunday, at the end of worship service, I had to run to the EOC building. So at the end of this, I have to go back to church, all right? And then we ask all those who are in church, please pray for one another, but let's be respectful of one another, all right? Because you have a highboy and you can make it through the water, yet you cause a wake that goes in the other folks' garage or that normally wouldn't go there, but the wake goes there. And so you create problems for your neighbors. We want everybody to be neighborly, and we will work through this. We will get through this, and then at the end we will have a final press conference, all right? And we'll give you what the final numbers are and where we are going from there, because we know this is only the beginning of the bad weather season, all right? We're watching right now. There's some things going on in the Atlantic that we need to be cautious of and we need to keep track of. Hopefully it will do what the models predict it will do, but who knows? But one thing for sure and two things for certain, Chatham County, Savannah, and all of the municipalities, Bloomingdale, Port Wentworth, Pooler, Tybee, Thunderbolt, we will all be ready for what is yet to come because we don't know what that is. Again, let me say thank you for joining us here and have a blessed day. Stay safe.